Hello everyone, this tarot reading is for anyone who feels like they failed at something. A relationship, a job, a friendship, a goal, or situation where you just generally tried, your hardest and you put a lot of effort into something, but it still didn't work out for you. So your mind's thinking, God, you failed at it. So what I've done is I've created 5 questions to kind of help bring a deeper understanding and clarity to the situation. Because sometimes what feels like failure is actually telling us a very different story. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at. So, what you believed was the failure. The card that's coming out is the Eight of Swords. Now, the first thing I noticed with this card, let me see if I can pick it up. The first thing that I noticed with this card is that it doesn't actually feel like straightforward failure. It feels like someone who's actually been made to feel trapped, or blamed, or isolated, or kind of powerless in some way. In this deck, right, what really caught my attention is how much distance there is from this town. Okay, that's catching my attention more than anything. So there's definitely a strong, like for me, like a feeling of being pushed out of a community, left out of decisions, or made to feel like the outsider. And her hands as well, another thing that was catching my attention is her hands tied behind her back, which kind of gives me this sense that she couldn't fully defend herself or change what was happening around her. Okay, and also what stands out to me is as well is how beautiful she is, how well presented she is. She's striking in a way, yeah, very very pretty, very attractive. And it kind of, when I was like looking at the card and I was like meditating on it, it kind of gave me this energy of like, back in the olden days where yeah, you hear like old stories of like women being accused of being a witch, not because she's giving me that like kind of witchy vibe, like being burnt at the stake type of thing. So um yeah, she's like being accused of being a witch, not because she's actually done anything wrong, but because she was different, or she was admired, or she was misunderstood, or made to other people uncomfortable, or she was talented, something like that. And in history, people were sometimes judged and isolated or blamed simply because they stood out, held boundaries, or attracted attention. Okay, so I'm not literally, I'm not saying this literally happened to you, but this is kind of like symbolically, that's the feeling that I'm getting from this card. I feel like someone became the target of projection, jealousy, judgment, or assumptions made by actually others. Okay, and this is that's why I don't really feel like this card is actually really about your actions. I feel another energy around it. Conversations, opinions, or decisions happening that you weren't fully aware of is kind of what I get with this. It's kind of two different energies. And you may have walked away believing that it was actually your fault, but the cards were really suggesting more than anything that there was actually a lot more going on behind your back than you realise. So the failure here may not have been that you did something wrong, it may have been that you were actually carrying the weight of a situation where other people's perception and judgments or decisions had much bigger influence than what you understood at the time. Okay, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. So yeah, what you couldn't see at the time, you got the Queen of Swords. Now this is where it comes really like interesting. Okay, because when there was no cards apart from the Eight of Swords, so when I got to the second question, I started shuffling the cards. Obviously, it's just the Eight of Swords. The way that the Queen of Swords landed right beside the Eight of Swords, it's kind of like the way she landed made it look like she was like looking behind the figure. She was a part of the town. Okay, it's the kind of way my brain looked at it. So it's kind of almost like watching what's happening behind her, or things that was happening again behind her. Okay, so to me that kind of completely changes this reading. Now the Queen of Swords is connected with communication and decisions and truth and contracts and boundaries and logical thinking. Yeah, so because she appears to be looking behind that the Eight of Swords figure, yeah, I feel there were again conversations and judgments or decisions being made that you just couldn't see at the time. So this could have been in a workplace, a situation, a family, situation, or a relationship, or an environment where other people were just discussing or deciding things without you having the full picture or without you having your say. Yeah. So the hidden truth here is that actually the outcome was not based solely on your actions. There were factors behind the scenes, really, or people behind the scenes, influencing kind of what's happened and what's happening. Yeah, is what I really get with that. Now, what this experience is teaching you, you've got the Four of Cups reversed. Now, I like this, okay? the energy kind of like begins to start shifting. So I don't feel like you're there anymore, okay? I don't feel like you're with that person anymore. I don't feel like you're in that environment anymore. I just don't feel like you're there. I think you're out of it now. Um, so yeah, upright, the Four of Cups can show emotional stagnation and staying in situations no longer, fulfills you. Reverse is about becoming more open to something different. And I actually like that this card sits underneath the Eight of Swords, because it feels like the reading's, it feels like it's really saying, don't stay trapped in this story, okay? This experience, my dad, was teaching you not to settle for environments where you felt restricted, isolated, unappreciated, or constantly anxious. It was encouraging you to open yourself to change, movement, and my darling, better opportunities, instead of kind of remaining stuck in what had already become quite limiting for you, okay? Now, what it was directing you towards, you got the Knight of Pentacles. I really like how the Knight appears in the spread, because it feels as though he's moving towards the Ace of Pentacles, but it's kind of like, in order to get there, he has to pass through the energy of the Eight of Swords first, okay? Now that feels significant because it shows that this new path may bring up some anxiety or uncertainty or fears connected to what's happened before. You may not feel completely confident every step of the way, and there can still be moments where old worries try to kind of like resurface. However, the direction of the Knight matters. He's not stopping in the Eight of Swords energy, he's moving through it, okay? So to me, this suggests there's a gradual but meaningful redirection. You may not have been pushed into something dramatically different overnight, but you are definitely being guided into a path that is more stable, more grounded, and sustainable. The Knight of Pentacles is about consistent effort, rebuilding, learning, and creating security over time. So this could be a new direction in your new career, a healthier relationship dynamic, a different living situation, or a new version of yourself that values stability and self-respect. Even if the journey feels unfamiliar at times, you are building, my darling, something more stronger and more secure than what actually you were experiencing before, okay? Now, the truth about this failure, you've got the Ace of Pentacles. Now, I like this so much. The Ace of Pentacles, okay, brings us all together. This card is a genuine new beginning for you, okay? Not just emotionally, but something that can become more stable, more secure and lasting. It's the seed of a better opportunity. Now, when I connect it back to the Knight of Pentacles, it feels like, in a way, the universe is really saying to you, keep building, keep moving forward. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of something a lot more stable for you. So I feel the truth about this failure is that it wasn't simply a loss. It was a redirection away from a situation that had become so restrictive and towards a path where actually there is real potential for growth and security and a stronger future for you, my darling. Okay? So yeah, when I put all this together, you felt trapped and you blamed yourself with the Eight of Swords. And I do think, I know, my darling, that there were hidden factors and decisions that you were being made that you couldn't see with the Queen of Swords, okay? I can't explain to you how much I feel that. Now, the experience, I feel, was teaching you to stop settling for what made you feel very restricted, okay? Because there is a lot of restricting energy going on there. And it's redirected you towards more of the steadier, more grounded path of the Knight of Pentacles, okay? And the outcome for you, my darling, is a genuine opportunity for something new and more stable beginning, all right? So if you have been carrying the belief that you failed, I feel with this reading, and what the cards are really saying is that you may not have failed at all, my darling, okay? You may have realised, or you may not realised, you may have been released actually from a situation that could have never ever given you the stability, the growth, and the future that is actually now trying to open for you, okay? So I hope this reading's helped. Have a good day. Bye-bye.